The kind of a different thinking that you brought to technology is also something you're known to have brought to leadership. Your very radical views on leadership. Can you explain a little bit about that?
As the company grew and became larger and successful, I noticed some patterns I didn't like about the way the hierarchies work in successful companies. Most game-changing ideas were out of the norm, out of the mindset of the leaders. Difference of opinion between a young person with a radical idea and a bunch of stakeholders, well, you know who's going to lose. What you'd think with all that review and PowerPoint analysis and decisions and smart people, smart executives, those decisions would be really good. You had to change how the actual decisions are made. So I saw a pattern elsewhere, and so we've moved to something I call decision by experiment. An experiment is where you set things up so that you test a leap of faith assumption. This is that great word from Eric Ries, where the customer thinks it's real. And they're making a real decision for reality with real money in the real world, but it's a prototype.
You want to give us an example of something you guys tried?
Okay. We're in the payroll business. We, in the US, have about a little over 1 million businesses who use us to do their payroll, to do all the withholdings and taxes, all that stuff that comes out of a paycheck, and do the filings with the government and pay the employee. That startup, there was an engineer who had an idea before we acquired him. The idea was that something about 2/3 of the people of the new prospects who come to our website seeking to sign up for payroll come on payday, meaning they want checks now, within 20 minutes. But the reality is, on our site, everybody else's, and all our competitors, it can take hours or a day before your setup is done, before you can get paychecks. And that's the way it's always been. Well, he had the idea, well, let's flip that. Let's allow a brand new user to cut paychecks first, in minutes, and then we'll do the setup later and correct any mistakes or errors and adjust. He pitched that idea to his startup. In fact, he even pitched it showing a screenshot, and to scare them, he put our name on the screenshot saying, this is what our competitor, Intuit, could do to us. Fast forward, we acquire the company. He's now in Intuit. We've got an experimentation culture now that we've been working to develop. And so he and a product manager groomed this up and tested this idea, not with a real experiment, but in a survey with 20 customers. And they all said no, they wouldn't use it. 0 for 20. But that wasn't a real experiment. That was a survey. So they got encouraged to run the real experiment. So in a day, they mocked up a dry test, which gave the brand new prospect a choice. Set up like normal, or pay employees first. 58% chose pay employees first, despite 0% saying they'd do it in a survey. And that was a dry test, so we didn't have the code behind it, but we now had the learning. They built the rest, and millions of extra revenue, 14% higher conversion rate, all because he had this idea coming from a customer problem, and finally he had the freedom to explore and to experiment with real customers.